Welcome back. One of the greatest actors in Bollywood history has passed away. Dilip Kumar won India's Best Actor award a record 8 times. He was a pioneer in Indian cinema, considered the first method actor in Bollywood history. Kumar was known for playing quiet, often sad characters and was the biggest star in Bollywood in the 50s and the 60s. Kumar was 98 years old. Well, for more perspective on Kumar's impact on Indian cinema, I'm joined by director and screenwriter Feroz Khan. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Kumar received the highest honours both in India and Pakistan for his acting over the past few decades. Explain for us his legacy.
I think it's a legacy that's going to be very difficult to follow because you have to understand that he was born in a country that was a British colony. He saw the freedom struggle. Then he saw the partition of the country by which his own birthplace went to Pakistan, but he decided to stay back in India. And then he saw the post-partition or post-independent India. So he has been part of the Indian experience. He has a huge place in the hearts and minds of the people and the history of India, cultural history of India, for almost 7 decades. So it's extremely difficult, in fact, to believe that there's anybody who's going to be like Dilip Kumar. Surely he not only was a great actor, but what really happened with him that he became a reference point and a turning point as long as star actors are concerned. Because the time that when he was acting, most of the acting was hugely influenced by theater, whereas he brought in the cinematic grammar to acting. I mean, the parallel to that would be in the United States when Stanislavski was, somebody that was hugely influential. And then you had Lee Strasberg and Stella Adler and Stanford Meisner, a completely new kind of acting that came into Hollywood. That's the same kind of impact that Dilip Kumar had. And not only actors were inspired by him, but they were actually imitating him and they made their huge careers. So in that sense, Dilip Kumar was this one unique person who was, I would call him an actor, star, and a citizen.
Of course, Kumar was 98 years old. The last surviving star of the so-called golden era. He won Best Film over 8 times for his acting. Yeah. Can you explain for us what his standout roles were and why?
I think he was, he was called the tragedy king in his times. And most of the time, the films that he did where he played a tragic part. And that's the reason that I think he decided to create a kind of an acting for himself, which was more intimate. Because if he had done this extremely bombastic theatrical acting, and when you went into close-up, it would look quite ridiculous. So he did these parts, which were very, very tragic. And some of his best work, to me, there's a film called Ganga Jamna, which is outstanding. Then there's a film called Devdas, and then there's a film on which I did a musical play called Mughal-e-Azam. These are the kind of standout performances that you had. He, in fact, went through a phase where he had to talk to a psychiatrist because he was extremely getting into kind of a depression playing all the tragic roles. And he had to get out of that. And then what he did was that to do that, he started doing comedy parts. And so that really helped to live a very healthy life as an actor.
Yeah, you often hear about actors trying to break away from a typecast type role, which he certainly did. But his skills were recognized overseas. I was reading that he turned down a role in the Hollywood blockbuster Lawrence of Arabia. Do you think he ever had any regrets over that?
Well, he hasn't expressed any regrets over that at all because if he had, we would know about it. I suppose that at that time he felt that being the kind of an actor and the star that he was there in India, that was far more important than him. That also tells you that Dilip Kumar was not an actor who needed a validation from anywhere else, and particularly from the West, to tell him how good an actor he was. I think he was very sure and confident of himself, and I suppose that he felt that was not the part for him, and he decided not to do it.
You certainly have spoken about how he has big shoes to fill for anyone sort of following that acting path. Just explain for us how he is being remembered in India.
I think the good thing about being in cinema is that you don't age. So his films are being shown again and again, and I think the television, shows you his films. So he was alive. He was continuously part of the consciousness of the Indian audience that watch cinema. And you know that cinema, India, it's very, very strongly linked with each other. And so he is remembered very fondly because there's one thing about Dilip Kumar that you have to understand, that his values as a citizen were the same and as an artist. He didn't do parts because he just wanted to do them. His value system had to reflect the kind of work that he did. So all the work that he did had dignity, grace, and it had something to say. And that's what a kind of a legacy which is going to be very difficult, because he was an extremely aware citizen of the country, because he had experienced, as I said, the partition, he had experienced colonial rule, he experienced post-India, independent India, and he lived an idea of India which he wanted to project, and he wanted to contribute that in the work that he did. And I think that's very, very special. So whenever you look at Dilip Kumar, you remember him as an extremely cultured, dignified person who was, of course, extremely charming too.
Well, Dilip Kumar, of course, was 98 years old. Really good to get perspective from you on his life and his legacy. Feroz Khan, thanks so much.
Thank you.